So our first speaker we have for you, his name is Regent. Regent is a creator at heart. According to him, there is something magical when you create using your own two hands, a sense of wonder and joy. As a young immigrant travelling from one country to another, Regent has experienced numerous cultures and the creativity that comes along with it, capturing each moment dating back to developing films from his father's camera as a child. After being mesmerised by the art of visual storytelling during high school, Regent was convinced that this is his path. Following that dream, he completed his bachelor's degree in film and screen media production, specialising in cinematography and sound. Regent keeps himself busy as a digital media producer at Sophist Nutrition, creating all sorts of video and audio content that helps everyday people achieve their health goals. When Regent is not in front of his screen with his headphones on, you'll find him running around on a soccer field, finding inspiration on YouTube, building something or studying the Bible with his friends. At this creative conference, Regent will share about his latest short film project, The Midnight Sower, and the ways Christians can use film to share the gospel. Welcome, Regent.
Thank you, Jess. I did not think that was going to be read out, so that was a bit awkward. I'm just going to put this on the side. Hey guys, how are you all doing? Good? Good to see a lot of the greenhouse crew here. Good to see you guys. So like Jess said, my name is Regent, and today I'm going to speak to you about film, or some people call it movie, cinema, Netflix. There's heaps of subscription programs like Netflix Prime, Australian version, there's like Stan, Binge, and there's a Christian one. Do you guys know there's a Christian subscription service? Yeah? Well, Chosen, it's not a subscription service, it's a great TV show. But there's a thing called PureFlix, which is like, it's like a streaming service for Christians. And you can't get it in Australia, which is really bad for us. But you can get it's in the United States, and if you have a VPN, you can kind of access it. I haven't done that though. Today I'm going to talk to you about filmmaking and discipleship. These are some screen grabs from our short film that we did. You guys are probably the first ones to see these because they've never been out. So sneak peek. So I'm just going to, first of all, I just want to thank Charmaine and the South Queensland Conference for giving me this opportunity to share about filmmaking and what it means to me and how we can be disciples of Jesus through that. So I'm just going to start with what, I have only a limited time, so Charmaine, if I'm going over time, just cut me off and I'll just get off. There's going to be heaps of things to pack in, so I'm going to speak really quick, and hopefully you can catch on. All right, so let's go. So why filmmaking, right? You've probably heard this before. A picture is worth 1,000 words, or a picture says 1,000 words, right? And in a film, in 1 second, there's like 24 frames. So basically, there's 24 frames, 24 pictures in a second of a video. So that's like 24,000 right there, just in a second, right? So that's why video is so powerful to tell a story or to convey something. And it's just, that's why I fell in love with video and filmmaking. So I'm just going to share a bit about myself. That's me there. Probably before COVID. So in grade 10, I was really into tech and IT. So I was like, when I finish high school, I'm going to study tech, IT, and go computer and that. But then in grade 11 and grade 12, I really got into movies, taking photos, taking videos, and everything like that. So when it came time to decide what to study at the end of high school, I decided I'm going to study film. So I studied the Bachelor's of Film and Screen Media Production at Griffith Film School up at South Bank. And most of you probably know that arts and like very niche arts kind of thing is very liberal arts is it's not your typical degree or your typical course, right? And it's really associated with a lot of I don't want to use this word, but like kind of odd and odd and like kind of what do you call kind of people. So you won't find much Christians in there. And that's the same for me when I studied for 3 years full time, and during that time I think there was like 5 Christians that I knew of in our cohort of like 140. So, and that's why the film that we made is us Christians coming together. So here's us, here's Daniel. Daniel is, all of us are Christians. Daniel is the writer and director, I'm the cinematographer, and Caleb is our editor. And it's pretty diverse actually in the sphere of Christianity. Daniel is a Catholic, I'm an Adventist, and Caleb is a Baptist. So it covers pretty good ground there. And after graduating film school, I think every film student's goal is to finish film school, get into film, and eventually get into Hollywood, right? That's the goal, right? Get into Hollywood, get big. And that was my dream too when I started. But then going through film school, 3 years doing full-time, I felt like that lifestyle wasn't for me because film is not your like 9-to-5 job where Monday to Friday. It's kind of a contract base. So if you're shooting a film or like assisting in a film, you'll probably work like hectically for like 3 months, and then you have a break for like 6 months, and then the next project comes along. And as a Christian and as an Adventist, especially like with the Sabbath and everything, you can't really work like 7 days a week, like long hours. So that lifestyle, after uni, I didn't want to really pursue the lifestyle. So I went on to like corporate videos, and that's why now I'm working at a digital health company. It's a small startup, and just read that I'm a digital producer, which is like a fancy term for just a videographer for the company. It sounds good, but the real term is that. So tonight, I'm just going to quickly go over the film that I'm going to discuss is called The Midnight Sower, and that's kind of the work in progress poster, but I don't think it's going to be the final poster because it looks like an animation more than a short film. So this is, you guys are getting a sneak peek of some of the frames, so which is really cool. So The Midnight Sower is we don't want to call it a Christian film. The director calls it a contemplative film, contemplative short film, because, anyways, I don't want to spoil too much about it because, so the shortest way to briefly say the plot is a young girl, she's in high school age, and one night heaps of bad things happen to her, and she starts questioning everything about herself, her beliefs, and everything like that. So that's the short way of saying that. So when we decided, Dallin and I would, after uni, he went on a mission trip for like 6 months to a year, I think. He went on a mission trip, and I just went hunting for jobs in the corporate environment. And we used to catch up and meet up. And then earlier this year, he was like, you know what? Let's give this a shot. Let's give making a film a shot, because we're Christians. If we're the head, like he's the director, I'm the cinematographer, and we got a Christian editor as well, we can create the environment that we want, and we can create a set that is that is Christian, or like, shows our values. So he wrote a script, and he sent me the script, and I was like, I really like the script. I was like, okay, cool, let's get it on. So we started from the start of this year, started meeting up, doing storyboards, like pre-production and everything, and then once we were ready for it to go, we're like, we need some funding, right? We need some money. Because it's expensive to make films. We need some money, so we're like, we'll do a Kickstarter. Cool, we'll do a Kickstarter, and then we decided, let's do a Kickstarter, and then to make the Kickstarter successful, we decided, let's audition the actors first, book in the actors, and then once we have the actors, we'll put them in the Kickstarter so that when people read the Kickstarter and look at the Kickstarter, they'll be like, this is legit. They already got the cast, they got the crew, and everything. So we did the auditions, and it just gave me PTSD of auditioning because it's such an awkward thing. People coming to you and just pouring their heart out, and then when they leave, you're judging them. So it's such a weird... I used to do that in film school, and I haven't done that for like 2 years, so it was just such an awkward experience. But we did that. We kicked off the Kickstarter. And initially, we decided we need $15,000. And Daniel, our director, he's been working in like the film industry, but like as an assistant for like the art department, so carrying like couches and all the decoration stuff. So it's not a pretty job, right? But he's been saving up, so we initially started with $15,000, and we brought it down so that we can bring it as low as we can so that we can fully get it funded. So we brought it down to, hope you guys can see that, $8,900 was our goal when we made the Kickstarter. And in the end, we got like $10,000 and $2. I don't know who gave the $2, but yeah, so we started off that. And the greatest thing with Christians and our community is that we kicked off, so Kickstarter, let me quickly explain what Kickstarter is. Kickstarter is a funding program where it lasts for a month. So you do a campaign, you share it so people fund your program. But in the end, if we don't get the $8,900, if we don't make the mark, you lose it. It's all or nothing, right? So if you make the mark, you get the money. But if you don't make the mark, people's payment will go back to them, right? So that's the goal. So it was really kind of a risk. That's why we brought the price from $15,000 way down to $8,900, because maybe $50,000 was a bit ambitious, right? But the Christian community is so crazy. Within the first week, 75% was funded within 7 days, which is crazy. All I did was just share our Kickstarter link with a bit of video on my Facebook, and that's all I did, right? Daniel, he's not really a social media guy, so he probably did like an in-person, like text person, and like talking to people talking really to people. So yeah, we got 6,500 in the first week, and then we're like, okay, we got 75%, this is gonna happen, all right? So we went, and then once we were funded, obviously we got $10,000 and $10,002. Yeah, we got that, and then we were ready to film. We hired cameras from like New South Wales getting shipped here, and since we got the fundings, we used some cinema cameras, and we're just going with the best that we got, right? And then we filmed, what's today, 19? Yeah, we filmed like a month ago, so October 10, 11th was when we started filming, so 5 night films. Everything happens in a night, the whole short film happens in a night, so everything is night shoots, and I just got reminded that why I didn't want to go in the industry, because it's all night shoots. It's kind of like an Adventist, it kind of relates to Adventist because it's night shoots, so we start at sunset. How Adventist, right? So we started at sunset, and most of the schedules would finish at around 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. But a couple of nights, by the time I got home from the set, it was already, sun was already up, and it's crazy. So yeah, I love it, but I don't love it at the same time. But anyways, so yeah, I only took 1 photo, which is crazy because we were so busy. We literally only had 4 crew members. So it was the director, me on the cameras, and I had an assistant, Zephyr. He's also Baptist from Caleb's church. So he helped me, and then we got a sound guy. And it's just us 4, and then the actors. So it was such a tight crew, and Zephyr was kind of doing BTS at the same time, taking photos, so we didn't get much time to get BTS. And right now it's in the editing process, so the director and Caleb, Daniel and Caleb are editing right now. If you follow us, I don't have a slide for like social media or anything, but if you just go to Facebook, just type in The Midnight Sower, or if you go to Instagram, The Midnight Sower. We don't have heaps of followers, but if you want to follow the journey, follow us there. It's just The Midnight Sower. I think we just, Daniel just posted a BTS of our first day shoot on our pages. So if you want to follow that, you can follow us. So yeah, that's the process, and it's on post-production right now, editing, and that's my journey with the film, right? So that's kind of half of what I'm gonna explain, share tonight is my journey. And this is our first film from uni. This is our very first film, Daniel and I. This is our first film from, we did heaps of film in film school, but this is our like real first film outside of uni. So that's my journey with the film, right? I'm gonna quickly jump over next. Okay, filmmaking and discipleship. Why I'm putting this is, how does filmmaking relate to discipleship, right? Cool, let me just ask you a question. What's your favorite Christian film? Just shout it out. Sorry? Prince of Egypt? That's an animation, right? Yeah. No, it's fine, it's still a film, okay. The Chosen, that's a TV series. Any movies? Fireproof, yep. Courageous. God's Not Dead, okay, I'm glad you pointed that out. Cool, so there's heaps, right? There's heaps of Christian films. And I'm gonna show you a slide. So, all right, so these are the top grossing Christian films up to date, right? It's like almost $500 million, more than $500 million for The Passion of Christ, which is basically like a Hollywood film, so you can't really call it like a niche Christian film. But Heaven's for Real. Has anyone seen Heaven's for Real? Yeah? All right, Heaven's for Real is 100 million. They got 100 million out of that film, right? The Shack. Heaps of people probably watched The Shack. I Can Only Imagine. Who likes Mercy Me? Yeah, all right, awesome film. Miracles of Heaven. I think we actually watched this as a youth movie night one time. So War Room, which is the same guys that made Fireproof, I think. Son of God, God's Not Dead, The Star. And Breakthrough has Luke Cage in it, if you guys are Marvel fans. Luke Cage is in that film. And there's Phil Wickham and Lecrae in that film too. Just a little bit of fact, all right? So yeah, we love Christian films, right? As Christians, we love Christian films, but tonight, I'm gonna turn the thing around and say that Christian films are bad. Yeah? You guys can agree? Yeah? All right, cool. All right, at least I'm not the only person. All right, so Christian films can be really preachy. Yeah? Can be preachy, kind of judgmental and the acting's not the best, the director, cinematography is not the best, right? We can agree, but they make heaps of money though still, right? Because Christians love Christian stuff. That's why we got funded, right? All right. So one of the like the Melvilles mentioned, the Fireproof and War Room is made by Kendrick brothers. I don't know if you guys might know the middle guy. He's in heaps of Christian movies, like Courageous. He's in Courageous. He's probably in Fireproof, Facing the Giants. So yeah, he's in Keeps of Films. And in one of his interviews, he said that we're not filmmakers. We're preachers using film as a sermon. That's what he said. And I'm like, cool. That makes a lot of sense now, you know? Because if it was filmmakers first, then maybe the movies would be better. But anyways, I want to just show it's good that some of you mentioned God's Not Dead. When I watched God's Not Dead, I was in high school. I think I was in grade 11 or 12. And I really loved that movie. It's like, you know what? Get like Josh, get that lecturer, get that guy, you know, like, yes, win the debate. I just want to share you, hopefully this video works. I think it's video next. I'll show you, yeah. Is the audio ready? All right. All right. I'm hurt, right? As Christians, and like, because we're Christians, we relate to the Christian characters, and like it's offensive to us. But if we look at it objectively, that's an example from God's Not Dead. And if you look at it objectively from like a neutral perspective, every atheist in these movies are portrayed as the most evil people in the world, right? The first guy was an atheist. He heard about cancer and was like, couldn't this wait? Like, you know, it's like the wahaha, like the villain kind of thing, right? So that's what a lot of Christian movies, I'm not saying every Christian movie does that, but a lot of them have that and like a cheesy kind of storyline. And don't get me wrong, I love God's Not Dead. Like when I first watched it, I was like, oh, it's the best, right? And then at the end of the movie, they ask you to text your friends, and then I text everyone in my contacts, right? And then 2 years later, I got a text saying God's Not Dead. And one of my friends watched it, and she texted me, which is awesome, right? It's kind of a ministry thing. But that's I don't know why I went there. But what I'm saying is that Christian movies sometimes can be like that. And I'm not saying every Christian movie is that. And the most recent, like I Can Only Imagine, and like the newer Christian movie that's kind of biopic have gotten a lot better with portraying realistic, even if it's there are some atheist people that are mean like that and bad like that, but not everyone's like that. So we have to be honest in the way that because when we make Christian movies like this, we're discipling, right? And a lot of these Christian makers probably think that we're discipling to the Christians, because as Christians, we should stand up for our faith and everything like that. But if an atheist person watched that movie, they'll be like, Christianity is whack. Why would I want to ever be part of Christianity or like look into it, or like, they would never want to be part of the Christian faith, right? So in a sense, it is putting off a lot of a major audience that, to be honest, they probably won't watch it in the first place, but if they did watch it, they wouldn't like it. And that's, I'm not saying I'm not saying they shouldn't make Christian movies. They should make Christian movies for Christians. Yes, these are for Christians, right? But I feel like we should reach out and make movies about faith that are not aimed at Christians, aimed at atheists. All right, so I'm going to show a few examples that I think are great movies that are not necessarily Christian movies, but talk about faith. You guys know this, Chariots of Fire? It was released in 1981. It won the Best Picture Oscar, and Best Screenplay, Best Original. You guys probably know the soundtrack? Slowly running? Okay. You guys don't know that? Oh, you guys are probably too young. But yeah, so this film won, and if you guys don't know the stories, I'll just quickly explain. There are two athletes in this competing for the Olympics for the country of Britain. And one of them is a Jew, right? And one of them is a Christian. And they use the word Sabbath in there, which is really interesting. But for them, Sabbath means Sunday. And it's interesting the Jewish person didn't tell the Christian guy that actually the Sabbath is Saturday. But anyways, yeah, so those two compete in the thing. And he's basically an Adventist, but who worships on a Sunday, because in the Olympics, who worships like Adventists, right? We think the day is holy, we shouldn't do. And one of the scenes is like, after church, one of the kids throws the ball in front of him, and he grabs the ball, and it's like, you shouldn't be doing this on Sabbath. Like, you should honor God, right? So that's the Christian guy, and there's the Jew guy, right? Jewish guy. And then they go to the heats. They go to the Olympics, and the heats, the first heat both of them are competing for the 100-meter race, and both the heats is on Sunday. So the Christian guy's like, you know what, I'm not going to compete. I don't want to do anything on the Sabbath. I'm going to honor God, right? And then that news, like, because he's a famous athlete, so that news spread around the world, and everyone's like, this guy's not competing on a Sunday because of his belief in God. And then the board is trying to convince him, just do it. Like, by winning, you'll honor God and everything like that. And then he's like, no, he wouldn't budge, right? And then they found a trick where, you know what, don't race on the 100 meter, race on the 400 meter, which is not on the Sunday. So he's like, okay, cool, I'll race there. So he raced on the 400, and he won the gold medal, the first place, and the Jewish guy won the 100 meter. So both of them won the gold place, and yeah, so they won that. So in the end, spoilers, but they won that, right? And then, so that's the movie, right? It's kind of like a journey of someone's faith. It's not necessarily a Christian movie. It's not preaching to you that you should be doing this, you should become a Christian, you should be doing this. This is wrong, don't live that lifestyle, do this, right? But it's purely just displaying someone's faith. And if a person's inspired by that faith, they would want to look into it, right? And I believe a lot of people are inspired by his story. And whether or not they looked into Christianity and their faith, or if they believe in a higher power or anything like that, we don't know that. But films like this inspire everyone, regardless if you're a Christian or an atheist, right? All right, cool. I'm just going to quickly, I feel like I'm running out of time. We all know HACKSAW Ridge, Adventist Pride. Yeah? All right, so these two films I just want to quickly highlight. HACKSAW Ridge is also about someone's faith, and we all know the story, so I won't go into it. And then you probably never heard of Silence, or if you did. So the main guy from HACKSAW Ridge, Andrew Garfield, you probably know him as Spider-Man as well. He's the main actor for these two films, right? And the second film, I'll just quickly explain the plot, is, so Liam Neeson, the main guy, he's a priest that goes to Japan for ministry in the earlier age where Christianity was not in Japan at all. So he goes in there, and then apparently he renounces his faith, and he says, I don't believe in God anymore. So the other two priests, Andrew Garfield and Adam Driver, they go in to investigate and get him back, to come back to the church, right? So that's their story. And both of them are faith-based stories. And we can all agree that HACKSAW is a great film, right? Yeah? It's a bit violent in the violent sense, but as a film, we can all agree that it's a great story. And stories like this inspire people, right? They're not saying, oh, you should become an Adventist. If some guy watches HACKSAW, he doesn't feel like, oh, you should be Adventist. If you're not Adventist, if you're not vegetarian, you're bad, right? They're not saying that, but it's just showing someone's faith. And even in place of violence, he's choosing peace and believing in God and his Bible and his faith, right? And that's also kind of the same with Silence. So yeah, like I mentioned, Andrew Garfield, yeah, he's played Spider-Man. You probably know him as the co-creator of Facebook as well, if you watch The Social Network, the film. So I want to quickly finish up with Andrew Garfield's journey, which is really interesting. I read a bit about his interviews and watched a bit videos on YouTube. And he's one of the talk show hosts asking him, what did you do to prepare? Because these two roles, he played them back to back. So like a few weeks apart, right? It came out in 2016. So he played that. So he said to prepare for this role, he prayed for a whole year. That's what he said. He prayed for a whole year. He did meditation. He did this 12-step course. So basically, he became a Bible student for a year, right? Because he was learning about Jesus. And as actors, they would get into, if they're reading about Jesus, they would get into Jesus' place and imagine everything and act out. And so he was like, this is the best. And one of his quotes is, what was really easy was falling in love with Jesus. That was the most surprising thing, he said. And he never prayed before, he said. He had never prayed before in his life before this role came up. So he said it was really easy to fall in love with Jesus. That was the surprising part. And one of the quote, there were so many things in the exercise that changed me and transformed me, that showed me who I was and where I believe God wants me to be. So even as an actor, just like looking into the role, his life kind of changed. And I'm not saying that, oh, he's a Christian now, he goes to church every weekend, right? I'm not saying that. I don't know. He probably does, probably doesn't. But yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that films, I'm not saying Christian films are bad. They're good for Christians. They're good for us. Like, if you want to reaffirm our faith, let's go watch God's Not Dead 4, which is coming out, I think, or it probably came out. Yeah, it's good for Christians, but it's not for atheists, right? So I feel like as a filmmaker, the way that I disciple is aiming for these audiences, and mostly atheists and non-believers, and putting a bit of faith in there where they can think for themselves, not giving them a platter where this is what you should believe, right? Show them who Jesus is, and they'll fall in love with Jesus. And so yeah, so The Midnight Sower is kind of that. Yeah, you can kind of see the bottom is like they're at church, and what's happening in the purple thing, I don't know. So yeah, that's a story that we and Daniel kind of we have the same mind in terms of Christian films and films in general. We don't want we shouldn't just be like, oh, that's what you should do, and just be preachy about it. Just show Jesus, and they'll follow you, right? So that's the film, and that's what I think as a filmmaker, to make disciples, because make disciples of all nations, not just make disciples of already Christians, right? Make disciples of all nations. So that's what I'm sharing tonight. Hope it was good. If you feel like I said something wrong, forgive me, and hope I didn't offend anyone. So yeah, that's me. Thanks.